Sin. There's so many options.
I think you just take the Aphelios. Like, you can always take the Thresh the next rotation, because like when you think of AD carries for Eric, then it's like not many of them are left that would actually want the Thresh pair beside it. So in that respect, yeah, I think you go towards your jungle here. JinJiao for Shadow been his most played, probably the strongest pick as well at the moment, and then you can kind of try and figure out, hell, look, do we want to just take something like a Leona here for JinJiao in the bot lane and set ourselves up for that nice early?
Well, maybe the Senna Tam Kench going to be the response here. We saw it the other day, I believe it was yourself casting, the Senna Tam Kench getting very, not expected to win the lane, but very much heavily winning it. So see if Eric and JinJiao can do something very similar.
Always an opportunity, especially where you do get that attention, but I still think that when you look at like a Senna TK, and especially like the difference that we're seeing in the LPL versus other regions, right? Like in the LPL, we actually see the fasting Senna, whereas when you look at regions like LCS and LEC, we're still seeing a lot of the farming Senna. So I think it'll be a case of like, leave Eric and JinJiao to their own devices, have Shadow play elsewhere. I'm not the biggest fan though, Shadow taking the Viego. It feels like you're putting yourself in the back foot. And when you've got like scaling bot lane you want to play away from, having a scaling jungler as well, now you're kind of looking at LGD going, hell, like what do we want to try and take here? Because you can lock in something strong like a LeBlanc here for Shanks if you really want to, or something along these lines. And that now gives you strong mid lane as well, and you can play elsewhere. But we're actually getting a Yuumi, which I did not expect here.
Wow, okay, so bot lane locked in here, but I kind of like this as well, because the Yuumi, if you do go Senna Tam Kench, you can just kind of leave the Aphelios in bot side. There's no real kill pressure a lot of the time, so it does free you up to just jump onto Beishan, go for a ride, and see what can work out for you. So we'll see what the side of WE want to make that work with, but the Gwen going to be locked in here, so LGD almost certainly going to be banning away the Jason, maybe even the Shanks.
Yeah, but I mean, WE can ban away the Tam Kench now, right? Like, take away these things that Eric wants to try and like farm with in the bottom side of the map that can do well. So, kind of surprised that LGD didn't just take the Tam Kench, because I feel like now you just go for that here as WE.
Well, there's the Nautilus, possibly going to see the Tam Kench coming in later, unless it is all just a massive ruse, and that is a support Senna. We will wait and see. The Akali going to be banned away here, so BiuBiu not going to be getting his hands on that. Neither will Shanks, in fairness, so not able to gain that flex. And now, where is your last ban going to go? I feel like it should be the Tam Kench, unless they feel like this Aphelios Yuumi can just do so much more into it that it's not going to be a problem.
If that's the case, then you don't ban the Nautilus, right? It just feels like we've seen Nautilus farm before, Sentinel farm before, so yeah, they're just trying to force it into the Tam Kench. But yeah, with the Jace and the Akali banned away, things that can do okay in towards the Gwen, so Gwen's going to be totally fine. LGD would just take the TK then here. On the opposite side for WE, maybe you try and go for something a little bit different in your top lane for BiuBiu. Unfortunately, he's not going to have the greatest of times, right? Like, a lot of things that can do reasonably okay, they're already taken off the board.
No.
So it feels like you just pay for lane. Okay.
That technically could be a flex into mid, but I would be very surprised if,
So this is actually something, maybe it was LGD actually that played this last year, but this like Karma mid, Senna bot, and you just become unkillable, and especially with like both the kind of season 11 champions and Viego and Gwen coming in, that could just be a, hey, we want to fully enable both jungle and top to like take over in these fights. So, and now the biggest thing that I think for LGD is actually like avoid the TK. You want something that can engage. So maybe a Leona is actually your best bet picking up in the spot side. Maybe it is a Senna Karma lane just to farm it up, and yeah, G would get the counter, but this Karma can definitely flex around.
And that's why I feel like this Kennen should be locked in here by BiuBiu. Does very well into the Gwen. Also very well at just stopping that massive healing coming out of shields. You just get the stun out. You can solo out someone, and you can also set up for your team. So I like this from the side of WE. They have a pseudo answer for it. It is looking like it is going to be the Karma in the bot side instead, but they're roaming through those mid lane champions. But either way, that's still a hell of a lot of shielding you got. And there's so much survivability on the side of LGD.
I mean, there's a lot of burst damage that can come through on WE though as well, right? Like, you've got the Kennen who can come in, you've got a bunch of AoE damage on the Ryze, and Aphelios should be able to find these fights as well. And even the healing for the Yuumi and the setup from the Yuumi for Beishan is going to be pretty big. So I think for WE, they've got a good composition here that can play early through skirmishes with this like link between JinJiao and the Yuumi, even having Shanks there who can do reasonably okay. On the opposite side though, for LGD, ton of scaling. Like, this composition basically runs like a double support setup with the Senna and the Karma, so it becomes really difficult as this game goes on to actually deal with the double support bot lane that they play for.
Well, both teams locked and loaded, and like I said, the scaling element of this LGD side is just insane. It's going to be on WE with Beishang on something like the JinJiao to make moves early, get himself out on the map, and Shanks as well on one of his best champions, one of his most played champions on the Ryze to make things happen. And then it's kind of down to Xing and BiuBiu to do the damage.
And it's something that we haven't seen a huge amount from Xing, to be perfectly honest. Like, he's been kind of quiet as he's come in. Like, obviously we'd stay starting off the year, but as Xing has kind of gone on, we haven't seen him really pop up off the damage percent. He's sitting at 23.8% of his team's damage, which when you look in comparison to like Shanks, who's at nearly 30%, and he's been playing like strictly Aphelios, Jinx, Zeri, all high damage AD carries. It hasn't exactly been a phenomenal stance for Xing so far.
We'll see if he's able to make something different out of this one, though, as LGD continuing to see if they can maybe push their wins slightly higher up the board. And WE, they're just hoping for a win. We are jumping onto the Rift for game one of this best of three. WE versus LGD. It may be a battle for the bottom of the table, but at the end of it all, that is a beautiful painting in the sky.
1-4 for LGD, 0-6 for WE. Still looking to get the first win on the board, but with Beishang back, we got to see what they can manage here. Beishang, a lot of hopes for a lot of WE fans riding on this man. And with the strong jungle matchup, the support for Kedaya being able to play with them as well, you should have the tools to try and take over this early game.
Well, we jump onto the Rift. We'll see now where both these teams want to end up looking towards. We are going to see both junglers hovering for the moment on the top side. We'll see if anything changes until then. But got a moment here before the chaos really ensues. And I want you to talk to me about what you can expect from these junglers. We obviously know that JinJiao can have early aggression and also Shadow on this, Viego. Where do you want to see them prioritize? What do you want to see them do in the early stages?
So for Beishang, a lot of it is going to be trying to play through this mid lane. Like, Shanks will get pushed in early by Yeji, and, you know, it's not the best of matchups for the Ryze, but at least you've got good ganks set up there, because when you look at the rest of the lanes, it can be a bit tough. Kedaya can offer some slows to help Beishang get into the lane, but with, like, shields and speed-ups and lockdowns coming through from Eric and JinJiao, it becomes really difficult to actually gank this lane. It's one of the reasons why it's, like, such a strong combo. Whereas when you look across at Shadow, he kind of has a little bit of a pick of the litter, right? Like, Eric and JinJiao can set up relatively well. Yeah, G, not so much, but certainly Fearness, he can try and play towards a BiuBiu topside as well. The only thing I will say for Shadow, I think it's just a case of trying to farm it out, right? You want to try and track Beishang and see if you can dissuade him from making plays, but more than likely, you're just going to see Shadow try and farm as quickly as possible and look to just go for that scaling option.
We'll wait and see. Right now it is going to be just both junglers pathing towards that bot side. Shadow just taking his grump, and then should be starting up with blue. As I said that, actually moving down towards the mid or maybe bot lane. Very early for the scuttle, so actually just popping down a bit of vision, making sure he can get full information of where Beishang is going. And honestly, as much as we're excited for Beishang's return, and rightfully so, it does add this caveat of pressure onto this jungler. A lot of people, as you said, were the waiting room for Beishang. Where is he going to do? What's he going to be able to set up for himself? And this is where you kind of see was it worth the wait? You know, he could be, as you mentioned, how sick's the patient, but how good's the doctor?
Yeah, and I mean, right now, LGD are doing a good job of trying to track him, right? Oh, actually, they should might just run into Shadow.
He should be fine. He'll be able to walk away pretty easily. He might actually go on him, but the bot lane pressure is in favor of LGD for the moment. You would lose a fair bit of CS for the Aphelios in this early stages. Not exactly ideal, but both of them back away. We do see it's actually a farming Karma, fast Senna, just to clarify that. So it is going to be a pretty bit easier time here for WE in that bot side, as they don't really have much kill pressure on the side of LGD.
The thing for LGD, though, is that they've been doing a good job of, like, already setting up tracking for Beishang, right? So the word was put down by Shadow, just the entrance to river right where Shanks is there, so they cover that. You've already got the word again placed into the tri-bush on the bottom side. Fearness has actually warded just off the side of his own terror there, so can always spot in Beishang if he's trying to go for something like the Probe. So this entire early game for LGD is very much, oh, hang on, Kedaya.
Kedaya in a lot of trouble. He's ticking down, but he gets the auto attack shield, and he won't fall just yet. Just about keeps himself alive and can come back into this one now. Beishang recognizing there might be an opportunity. There is no flash here for Eric. There is one for the Karma, and they all back away. But that was very, very all of a sudden very dicey for WE.
Yeah, we'll have to get a look at like what happened, because Kedaya kind of getting caught there, separated from Shing, and it's not like you've instant CC from anyone on LGD, right? Like, so unless you got caught with like the route from Eric and couldn't reconnect to Shing, I'm not sure, but does seem a bit weird. BiuBiu now getting a ward onto the top side. Krugs will just spot Shadow moving back up there, and you can already see, like with Shanks positioning here, already beginning to just slowly teeter and look for the potential roams top side. It looks like, at least for the stage, they realize in WE it's too difficult to get Garrick and JinJiao. They're just going to look for Fearness instead.
We did lose both summoners off of Kedaya, but I will say it is combat summoners, so the exhaust and the ignite far less important than the flash of the Senna. So Eric needs to be a little bit careful of how he approaches the next few fights, but looks like we're not going to be getting a replay, so not going to be able to tell you exactly what happened. I'm very sorry, Dagda. We're just going to have to know the unknown.
If you know, you know. But BiuBiu anyway, pushing in this top side. Again, like, BiuBiu left on his own in this lane will do work against Fearness, right? Just kind of slowly chipping away at this turret. Again, I think we've said a couple of times, like, the reason Gwen is so powerful in the top side is because a lot of the champions that go up there are AD focused, and Gwen has insanely high base armor, so it's really difficult to trade against her. Still kind of works a little bit for BiuBiu in the early stages on Kennen, because Kennen does tend to be quite auto attack reliant at the early stages, but when that AP damage comes in, it means that you just don't really have the opportunity for Fearness to trade as effective as you'd like, and that's not even taking the range into the count as well.
Well, Dragon has been started, but it is with the knowledge Beishang has that it is going down. Maybe they try and make something work here onto the Karma, but they're actually just being aggressive here. I don't think you can fight this LGD. You don't have push it mid, and exactly as I thought would happen, Shanks roams down. Thank you very much for the leash. Very easy collapse here for Team WE.
Much better coordination from WE though. Like, you can see instantly Beishang's like, look, this is the call, we're going. And it's something that's actually been lacking from WE's early game, is that kind of cohesiveness and where everyone's on the same page. And even when you have Kedaya on things like this Yuumi, where I've been pretty vocal about in the past, I don't like him on Enchanters because I felt like he's been a very strong engage tool for them. You're not missing out on that early stage. So Shing and Kedaya to get that roam across, they actually zone off JinJiao in that meantime as well. So you get the numbers advantage for WE on that Dragon, they can just take it away.
Yep. Shanks roaming up towards that top side. We talked about him cheating up there a couple of times, so see if he's able to make anything work. But the TP coming in from BiuBiu means that he'll be getting himself back up towards that top lane. And again, all said and done, it is only a 300 gold lead here for Team WE. To be expected, realistically, given the setup they have in top side. As I said, I mentioned the range matchup for the Kennen, but other than that, still very, very even. We're waiting for big level 6s, which have been hit by the solo laners and will soon be hit by the bot laners as well, and that could be the go sign for either of these teams to really make a name for themselves.
I think with the push that Eric and JinJiao have on bot side though, and it should give a little bit of ease of access for LGD if they're looking at a Rift Herald. BiuBiu though?
Oh, he's gonna find Viego. Had an inkling, didn't 100% know where the Viego was, but had an idea. So, oh, Shing. It's a lot of damage, but of course has the Yuumi, so should be just fine to be able to heal that one up. But again, nothing else really to talk about. Again, both these teams, I know it's a bit of a meme that they're kind of like bottom of the table, but you can tell just how much they want to win this series, because they're just not risking any kind of flip. They're not looking for any kind of crazy aggressive play, because it could literally mean the end of the game before they've even had a chance to play it. As I say that, Shanks, he's going to get caught out. Shockwave down. He actually oh, no. Oh, I think he was trying to get himself over the wall to guarantee at least summoners burned by the side of Shadow, and yeah, but didn't quite come out to the way they wanted it. As I say that, final chapter going to be used here. They're going to use the Midnight Vigil as well. Eric taking a lot of damage here, a lot of hurt. The exhaust didn't come out, and the ignite. Shing did take the ignite back from his side, so they do trade 2 summoners for 2 summoners. WE do lose the ultimate at the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, Shing and Kedaya trying to see if they can force the fact they have the level 6 first, but now Beishang moving topside.
Yeah, he's moving topside right inside of the Shroud as well. Should be able to get him CC'd up. Nowhere for him to go. Beishang picks up his kill in topside. Very nicely done there by the WE mid laner. Or sorry, excuse me, jungler.
And the fact that LGD haven't been able to respond to anything on WE's side is actually a bit of a win. Like, Yes, they got the kill on towards Shanks in the mid lane, but they didn't turn that in towards the Rift Tower, which is what I was expecting them to go for. It means that WE now, with that pick top, are actually the ones that go towards the mid lane, and they're able to get that win for themselves. So you trade tip for tat, and then they get that little bit of an extra cherry on top. We're just going to see it here, right? Like, WE are trying to set up for the Rift Herald. They just don't realize here for Shanks that you've got the Ori and also the Viego in the bush. And that flash, I don't know, it seemed like maybe a bit of a panic misclick because he was not getting over that wall anytime soon.
Yeah, I think it might have been just, you can even see his reaction in the player cam as well. He was kind of like, ah, crap, you know, he was kind of maybe just instinct as such. You know, you have to try and discipline yourself to not use your flash even when you're in a bad situation. But we'll see now Xing, the red and white guns, try and maybe work something here. It's actually just a pressure. So easy for this Carmen set of the push up. You have so much wave clear and just harassment that it's just very difficult for the Aphelios in these early stages to make something work for them. So very good use of pressure here for LGD. And coming up to just past 10 minutes, it's 1 kill apiece. It's pretty much equal on gold across the board. The only difference really between these two teams is that one dragon that was taken by Team WE.
And again, a very slow-paced game, which honestly I think kind of favors LGD. Like, you're getting this Senna who's kind of farming up. She's actually gone straight for the Executioner's Calling, so then she can reduce the healing that's on WE's side. But I still believe that as you start to push into this game, Shadow is going to be an absolute menace. You're going to have Fearness who's going to be able to do a lot of work in these team fights. Plus, they're going to be enabled by the double support. So for WE, they're the ones that at least, you know, they're getting these early plays. They're getting some early objectives in their favor, but we really need to see this gold lead expand for them if they want to have a chance.
Well, they've got themselves a Rift Herald, and 30 seconds till Dragon spawns. We'll see what Beishang wants to do with that particular objective. Slicing Maelstrom is available. TP will be available for Fearness, but not for BiuBiu. Very important to recognize that. So, yes, it is still pre-14 minutes, but it does mean that should Fearness need to go into the mid lane or bot side to try and make something happen, should be able to do it, whereas BiuBiu cannot. Now we just wait to see how both these teams want to play out the next few minutes. We can see there Beishang trying to be creative with his pathing, seeing if he can get around this mid lane. But there's a decent amount of control here from LGD. They'll know pretty much if he goes towards top or mid as soon as he shows his face.
At least Beishang once more try to move in and get vision control here on this top side. Maybe playing up towards BiuBiu once more. He's got his ultimate up.
Got his ultimate up. BiuBiu has flash as well. There is no ghost available here for Fearness. He goes aggressive with the needlework. We're going to see the Slicing Maelstrom come out alongside the Dawning Shadow from the Senna. We have the Realm Warp as well. He flashes in, just gets on top of Fearness, and Fearness has nowhere to go. And he will be taken down. Beishang with another kill. They've even got the Rift Herald, and with Shadow up in the top side, they can't even take the Dragon as a response here for LGD.
Yeah, G is trying to move up here, though, to see if they can answer. You've got the reset for Shanks.
Reset for Shanks, coming straight back into the mid lane. Turret plates all going over to the top lane and jungler of WE. They will not lose anything else off of that. And they're happy to know now this is a 2v2. They can push forward a little bit more aggressively and maybe look to make something work for them. They also recognize that there is no ultimate on the Senna either.
And I mean, a lot of these early plays, though, have been focused around Beishang, right? Like, ooh, Moonlight Fidget just got wide. But it's good to see Beishang coming back in and instantly, right? Like, everything that WE've gotten has been off his back, right? The early Dragon was him reading Shadow and being able to shove LGD out of river. You get the play on towards top side, but actually nets the not only the kill, but the Rift Herald as well. And now another play going up towards that top lane is Kedaya.
Kedaya, that was a bit of a risky one there. They will get the final chapter down and a lot of damage being traded back here. You have Shadow just on the back side of this, but he doesn't want to go underneath the turret. Beishang shadowing Shadow and making sure that nothing too untoward happens there. But Kedaya, that was reckless.
Yeah, and doesn't even get the reconnect, right? So just put Xing in danger and not able to actually get himself into, out of harm's way. And with that, though, LGD will manage to get second Dragon of the game. Yeah, G had push in mid, so he was roaming down with LGD to that bot side. So it means that they just had the numbers advantage there. As you just see Shanks leaning once more towards this top side. And BiuBiu getting a lot of resources on this top lane just to make sure it's safe. And honestly, despite the fact that it's BiuBiu and not Breathe, this is very reminiscent of what we saw from WE in 2021 summer. Playing heavily towards this top side. They had Breathe as the big carry at that point in time, but this time BiuBiu still just getting as many resources.
I mean, BiuBiu may not be considered the greatest top laner we've ever had in the league, but can do a lot with the resources he's been given. We have seen carry performances from this man in the past, so getting those 2 assists, already up with the Rocket Belt and, of course, the Oblivion Orb, so able to reduce that healing coming out from Fearness. And this is a great start right now for for WE. Yes, they lost out on that Dragon bot side, but as you mentioned, Beishang being at the heart of everything they're doing means they're able to make so much more happen. And now we can see the power of this Yuumi alongside this Zhao as they start to buddy up and roam around this map. Shadow needs to be very careful, though, as he's only going to be able to keep himself safe for a little bit while longer. But the rest of LGD, you can see the mid-map roaming down, making sure he can take away his blue.
And I love how more active Shanks has been with Beishang coming back into the game, because this was something we saw from Shanks a lot in summer, but we haven't really seen it coming into spring where he'll actually link up with you. We saw it a tiny bit at the start of the split, but that very quickly teetered off. Now though, even though like he is on Ryze, right? Like he is actually not using the ultimate. It's just him shadowing Beishang for a lot of the plays they want to make, and it's making Shadow's life a bit of a struggle. As I say that though, Shadow does have a bit of a CS lead for himself, and keeping even on the go despite the fact that it's actually been Beishang getting both the kills that WE have. So as we talked about, like Shadow just wanting to kind of play it safe, quickly farm and efficiently farm, he's been doing just that.
Now it's about a 1,300 gold lead for WE. They are stacking up a Cole. They have the Gale Force onto Xing as well. We mentioned, of course, the Rocket Belt for BiuBiu, but it is going to be pretty much answered in the next while by the Gwen, who should be able to pick up the Riftmaker in the next like 2 minutes or so, just before the Dragon, which will be very important. Teleports have been unleashed as well, so might have some options here for plays around the map as Rift Herald has been spawning. This is something that I think Beishang has always done exceptionally well. He's just so damn good at making sure that he's getting objectives. That was the big thing he was able to do for the side of WE last spring and summer, which is being on objective first and recognizing, cool, at least if we're losing bot, we're getting something else.
Yeah, understanding how to cross map effectively, and now moving towards mid, but LGD can move up to contest.
Yeah, they're going to try and maybe look for the contest here, but it is only a 2v4 at the moment. The Gwen roaming down now. Shelly will get the boof off, and this is just going to be a really smart, quick play to get this tower. Very nicely done by WE. They crack open the mid lane. They're able maybe to get a charge off. Nah, shouldn't be able to do it as they back themselves away. But again, good moves here. They lost a bot lane turret. They gained one in mid.
Yeah, and you can see Eric and JinJiao were sticking around on that bot side, not actually trying to roam up, so it meant that you were safe to do that as WE, knowing that they weren't going to get suddenly collapsed on by a lot of members of LGD. So, at least mid tower gone, bot tower gone. It's still another tower gone in that top lane for WE though, so it means that at least for WE, they've got a definitive style of the map that they can play around, right? Like, move into this top side, get some vision control, look to see if you can continue to steal away camps from Shadow, and just slow the scaling that LGD are going.
Now, just over a minute until the Dragon spawns. Most summoners, if not all, should be available. Where do you want to see these players or these teams fight around the Dragon, or even do you want to see them fight around Dragon? What do you want to see from the next minute and a half?
I mean, it feels like if you're looking towards... it depends on the resources committed, right? Like, if WE are able to get BiuBiu down, which it looks like they're trying to do with him already wandering down, I feel like a full team fight could go the way of WE. If this ends up being a bit of a skirmish where you're kind of playing off of Eric, JinJiao, Shadow, and Yeji, maybe it goes in favor of LGD, although it will be close. It very much comes down to, like, how quickly can WE get onto someone and burst them out, so the infinite sustain and healing that Eric and JinJiao offer isn't going to play factor.
As I mentioned, you do have the Oblivion Orbs, so you have a little bit of healing reduction, Grievous Wounds, and of course big AoE Pikachu up in that top side, so wait to see where they're able to make it work. It does feel like LGD are pathing up more towards this top side. Maybe look to try and collapse onto BiuBiu, and that's going to be their target. 13 seconds till Dragon spawns, but they do not care. The TP is going to be coming out. They're going to try and stop him. The flash in just to stop the TP, and now BiuBiu knows he is just dead. Nothing else he can do. He will do some fancy feet to dodge out from these needleworks, but it is going to be his life for the Dragon. As I say that, he's doing a hell of a lot of good job to try and delay, but delay is all he can do. It is going to be the Dragon traded for his life. Does clear the way of those who shouldn't lose the tower.
I mean, it's a kill extra for LGD, but it's tower for tower, right? Dragon going in favor of WE, and honestly the push here as well. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not the end of the world that BiuBiu went down. Got the flash out of Shadow as well for his troubles. So, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you're all right with that as WE.
Yeah, they got the Dragon. They're going to be able to trade back the tower as well. I think BiuBiu played that very well. And importantly as well, BiuBiu didn't use his flash. He still has that summoner available to him. Yes, he used his teleport, but that was just to try and get himself out. And like you said, he was able to capitalize on lack of a flash from the outside of Viego. And speaking of flashes, JinJiao needs to get himself out, and he flashes over the wall because, again, he's the carry in this lane. If the Karma goes down, you're losing a lot of your wave clear.
Shadow trying to steal away the blue buff, though, will actually manage to get away with that, it looks like. And that's, I think, the way that we're going to see WE continue to play this, right, is like using Beishang and Kedaya as their big engage tool, trying to like bully their way into fights. Using Shanks off on the side to try and keep pushing, as he is on the Ryze and can join in relatively easy. Whereas I think you want BiuBiu with you for a pretty large portion of it, because the flash into the Maelstrom is going to be so difficult for LGD to deal with, especially when they don't really have any sort of hard peel or CC. A lot of it's more situational, or at least takes time to enact. So at least if BiuBiu can get those nice flanks, or even just flashing on top of LGD, there's very few people that can actually get him off of him.
Well, we are hitting 20 minutes. That means the Baron is now alive and well on the Rift. Comes another objective. Beishang back on the map, roaming around this Yuumi, and this game is very, very close. Only about a 400 gold lead in favor of Team WE. Kills 2 apiece. Towers 3-2 in favor of WE, but it is still a very, very close game. It is a Hex Rift, so we could be seeing some Hex gaming, as I like to call it, some Hexen. With the gates, and we'll see if anyone can make anything work. And this is why you can work now with these Hex gates. You can just move in with Beishang. If he feels like he's in any other kind of pressure after he clears out the vision, he can just take the gate or the blast cone, whichever one he likes. He has plenty of options to get himself out to safety.
WWE just kind of backing away here, trying to see if they can establish vision control since Baron is up on the top side. And that's kind of what we were talking about already, right? With like the outer turrets gone on mid and top, it becomes easier for you to shove a wave and then move into the top side of the jungle for LGD and just look to contest it to a certain extent. But you have to be careful as LGD, because with that vision control established for WE, there's always the opportunity for BiuBiu to be hiding in a bush, waiting to pick people off. And if you have WE ready to follow, even Shanks there with the Realm Warp to get people into position, they can very quickly take apart LGD.
Yeah, Shanks going towards the Fimbulwinter build, so recognizing that he can just be aggressive. And even Beishang, it's just no fear in him whatsoever to say, look, I can walk forward. I have got the Yuumi on my back, so I will just heal up all of this damage. We will see more pressure coming out from WE as they are letting LGD just have free reign in this bot side. So Fearness is going to be able to put some decent damage down. It will be answered by Shanks, as he is the one with the active TP at the moment. 2 minutes until Dragon spawns. Baron is on the Rift, but I don't think either side does it exceptionally quick, so we shouldn't really be seeing any sneaky Barons.
Yeah, I mean, you've always got an Aphelios who can do it pretty quickly, but certainly for LGD side, if you don't have Fearness there, you don't really have the damage to take down that Baron fast. So it will need a big fight for LGD to try and turn towards the purple worm. But for WE, I like what they're doing, right? Again, we talked about Shanks answering Fearness on the side lanes. He can push out well. He's got his TP and the Realm Warp to try and answer that. Whereas they're trying to keep BiuBiu situated as often as possible with the team. He's staying out of vision, which is honestly the best bet, because it means that LGD can't fully know if they're safe at any point in time, but they're constantly just moving into this top lane, clearing out the vision as they go, and it's constantly keeping LGD on their toes, because they're like, well, is there a mouse in here? Is there a cat that we got to worry about with Beishang in tow?
This game is just very, very tense right now. No one really willing to go that too far forward. That could cost them the game. Both sides very happy to scale up. We actually have a Void Staff now for BiuBiu. You've got the Collector for Xing as well. So plenty of options here for both teams to keep on scaling up. But like I said, LGD will be pretty happy with this. You've got the double support combination with Eric on the Senna and of course the Karma as well. And Fearness will be very happy to receive all the heals and shields they can possibly offer to him. I will say though, it is a full AP Karma for the moment, not going for the full kind of supportish build. Very happy to be kind of dealing their own damage in these fights.
Yeah, well, definitely a farm-oriented Karma, right? And don't forget, like, even though we kind of think of Karma as like a support, the more AP she has, the bigger the shields, right? Like, it's going to be real tough to get through these shields, and that's not even including the Dawning Shadow, the actual general healing that Eric can provide. Like, there's so much that is just really hard to get through. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Serpent's Fang come out this game, just because of the Karma, the Senna, Ori, all being able to provide like shields of their own. You even have the Eclipse there for Eric, which will give a shield. Like, there's just so much to try and get through here. But you've also got to look towards, like, as you said, like the the greatest wounds coming through for Xing at some stage, and that like you actually need to be able to stop a lot of the sustain that LGD.
I will say for the moment, it does look like Kedaya is going up towards that Chemtech Putrefier, so maybe able to just give him the grievous wounds that he so desires. That is going to be a Dragon 4 Tower trade. In 4.5 minutes, it will be WE with the Soul. I will say, Hex Dragon can be a bit of a game changer here for Team WE. That extra slow, the AoE damage can do a lot, especially like you just mentioned there. If people are getting grievous wounds across the board, that could just mitigate a lot of your power on LGD. But LGD, for the moment, happy to take the trade. They retake the gold lead, but again, it's only about 400. It's becoming another very tense moment of this game. People just very happy to stack up whatever items and gold they can.
I mean, you're waiting for like Sterix to be completed by Shadow. You got 2 items there for Fearness, so he's in relatively good spot. Probably his Zhao to come through as well, or at least to stopwatch, just to try and keep himself in fights. And you're hitting the point now where LGD, you're kind of running out of excuses not to fight, right? Like Orianna is looking good. I'm not sure if I fully agree with the Eclipse build from Eric. I think maybe the Divine Thunder or even a Kraken Slayer build could have worked a little bit better just because you're playing for scaling here on LGD's side. But either way, like, you have so much damage here in LGD, you just gotta find the right fight.
Both teams now posturing. They have got TPs available for both Fearness and BiuBiu, so could join at the drop of a hat. No teleport for, but he's got us flash, and that's all that really matters. Both teams now hovering, trying to maintain vision control around this Baron pit. Well, of course, with the bot side being in pressure in favor of LGD, it is going to be a pull on the top side, so WE will get their pressure there as Shadow starts to work his way back into the pit to gain some control back into this Baron area. But right now, both teams very happy just to, as we mentioned, just to keep each other at arm's length. And it's going to be, honestly, it feels like it's going to either be an absolute godlike play or a big mistake that's really going to kick this one off. Oh, as I say that, Shadow should be fine. Again, 2 supports with him. But again, this is the moment where these teams get very, very tense and very much not wanting to throw it away.
Yeah, it feels though like WE are the one constantly putting pressure, and LGD just not really able to respond at the moment. Especially as you start to look towards like 2 minutes until that dragon. We're going to definitely have a fight for that, but LGD haven't really established control of the map anymore. Like, if you look at the vision control, it is firmly WE favored. Like, you're still using like you're still using trinket wards to try and establish some vision as WE start up the Baron, trying to draw LGD in. Keep your eyes on where BiuBiu is.
And they go in. They don't actually know exactly where the Baron has been taken, but they know it's not being taken just yet. We can already see the encroaching mist now down for the Viego. They can back themselves away. Beishang moves forward, takes a chunk, heals it back up. And they just move everyone back towards it. No summoners blown, no pressure given. But at the end of it all, it is still, like you mentioned, WE pulling the strings. WE seem to be the ones more comfortable in this situation, more proactive, and how they want to try and fight this fight.
BiuBiu now moving back down towards this bottom side of the map. There's a ton of, well, there was a ton of wards that he could have used as flank angles if he wanted to, but as we're talking about a minute and a half left until the dragon, it's about getting those waves in shape, pushing them out, putting pressure on the map against LGD, and also trying to see if you can now look at the reset, pushing your mid wave, trying to establish vision control on this bottom half of the map when so much of it has been concentrated on this top side for so long.
Yeah, I will say the mid-turret not going down. Very difficult for LGD to really take this one down in a siege. They're very short range. They don't have a lot of quick damage. Hex Drinker has been picked up here now by Xing, so he's going to have a little bit more survivability, recognizing that it's going to be mainly the AP damage that's going to be taking him out. A lot of damage available to the Karma, who now has a Shadow Flame as well. So a lot available for both these sides as we can hope now just 45 seconds till the dragon spawns. LGD are in the river first. They are taking a recall though from the Orianna, who's going to TP straight back in. So both these teams now looking for it, but WE, they're feeling like they've got LGD have gone too quickly. They can push in mid and get control from there.
And I agree, right? Like, you still have 30 seconds until this is up. WB don't even have to fully commit towards this dragon because they have three for themselves. And now LGD have to defend their mid turret, and WE have routed them from river and can now move into this spot.
Yeah, looks like they're going to go for Fearness as well. Has to get himself out of his flank, so he's going to have to go the long way around. Now, this is a bit of a situation for LGD. They're barreling up mid lane, but they don't have a wave to take away that tower yet. So Fearness seeing if he can go for something. He will take the Hex straight, but they saw him. They saw him on the Hex gate animation, so they know exactly where he is. He does not need to worry about being caught out because he knows that they know exactly where he is. So right now it is going to be the Dragon started off by WE. Shanks playing 1v4 right now on the side. We can see another Hex Gate coming off to the side here as Fearness finally makes himself known. He jumps straight in on the Shing, but can he do anything else? He's getting taken down so quickly. His needlework just not doing enough. And on the other side, the Shanks has to flash away. He falls down. BiuBiu hits nothing with his ultimate, but unfortunately for the side of LGD, I don't know if they can take the damage. Yes, they can. They eventually get the resets onto the Viego, and it is going to be a triple kill there for the onto the Aphelios. Excuse me, it's a triple kill for Shadow. I hate the way that does that on the screen, but it is LGD that come out with the Dragon in the fight.
It was too late for BiuBiu to try and take that Hex Gate. As soon as they saw BiuBiu going for it, it's basically a self-CC. Like, you cannot come into that fight while you're in the gate, so you end up seeing Fearness wrap around at that exact instant. So watch here, right? BiuBiu goes through. That's the go button. Fearness is like, phenomenal. You can't get into a position to threaten my backline. I can go forward. And LGD are constantly playing away from BiuBiu. Even G positioning the ball there to stop him. And that whole time, you're fighting 4 versus 5 as WE. And despite the fact you get some good damage here with Shing, BiuBiu's ultimate not hitting anyone means that LGD can just carry through in this fight.
Viego picking up the triple kill is massive as well, just showing the power that you have with these 2 skirmishes in the top side of the map with the Viego and the Gwen. Forever in lore and forever in this game, and that's going to be the Dragon stopped now again for another 4 minutes. Now WE find themselves at a deficit of 1,000. Again, nothing too big to be worried about. But this is where the game starts to get a little bit funky. Now summoners are down. Now you're not really as strong as you used to be. And WE, they just not really finding themselves in a position where they can fight it. That being said, though, it looks like they're going to try and force this one. This goes out very fast.
Yeah, but not fast enough. Now Shing is flopped over to the correct guns with the Severum Crescendum, spotted by LGD, but you don't want to flip this. And again, you don't have BiuBiu in position here to really go for the plays. No flash to speak of. Makes it very difficult for BiuBiu to actually get in. And LGD just kind of routed. Looking a little bit like an FPX Baron at the moment.
Yeah, looking a bit shaky on that. I will say WE still have the mid lane tier 1, again, mentioned it earlier, very difficult for LGD to take down these towers, but just trading the farm right now still favors LGD. This Gwen is getting ridiculous. 3 items now, finished up the Zhonya's Hourglass. You actually have a GA now for Shadow because he did go back, like I mentioned, with those 3 kills. You're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's becoming harder and harder and harder for this side of WE to even just sustain through this poke damage. And now with the shields getting as big as they are, you can see they're feeling a bit more confident on LGD to push forward and make something happen for themselves.
Yeah, especially after that last fight, they now kind of realize how big they are. The Kenpung Sword going to make sure that Kedaya isn't really keeping Beishang as topped up as he was, or that Gore Drinker is either. So at least from WE's perspective, things are starting to look a little bit scarier. And this is what we're talking about. Like, if this slow burn of a game keeps drawing out, LGD with the double supports are going to scale beautifully into the late.
Just so much shield, so many things you have to deal with, have to think about. And I will say with that Hex Drinker build coming out from Shing, I don't disagree with it, but it is going to delay his big damage coming out for him. He's not going to have the same 3-item spike that we expect from an Aphelios. No Lord Dominic's Regard, no IE, and it's just going to become a little bit harder for him. So we'll see what they're able to do with it. And again, like I said, just the Zhonya's and the GA, just so many ways to keep yourself alive, keep yourself relevant in this game. LGD have so many lives that they can work with, and so many shields and so many health bars.
I mean, you're even looking at just the damage that they've got as well, right? Orianna on 3 items, Ludens, the Archangel Staff, plus the Void Staff completed. That's so much damage that this Orianna is going to do, especially if it ends up catching on to something like Shing, BiuBiu. Like, these are not the tankiest members. So especially for for WE, you need to be careful about how you're approaching these fights. And when LGD did a really good job of setting up for the last trade, we now got the new one starting in a minute and a half, and I don't know exactly how much WE would be able to put up a fight because they're losing pushes across the map.
Yeah, you can see the Shing is almost towards his Infinity Edge. Actually finished off the Maw and Mortius first, so not quite sure exactly on the building of that particular one. As I said, minute till the dragon spawns, or a little bit over it. I don't think he's going to have his Infinity Edge before that fight can really happen, so you got to feel like LGD are just going to take themselves onto Soul Point for that. But now, actually, they're going to start themselves off onto the Baron. There is a ward, though, that's going to spot them out, and the blue trinket, but while the rest of LGD are just waiting around, seeing if they can catch somebody out, using these ultimates or using these AoE spells to just control the lane. The rest of LGD are still on this Baron, but it takes so long to take it. I don't think they're going to be able to get it away.
Yeah, it's why WE weren't in any sort of pressure, and LGD have just given up their spot towards the dragon, right? 40 seconds until that spawns. You can get vision control down here as WE and see if you can actually take that up. Maybe WE actually considering starting up the Baron themselves, but just going to look to clear out vision. Fearness got to back away now as well. I mean, LGD, that was not the time to start up that Baron.
Yeah, they forfeited all vision control. There is still the one pink ward that's being pinged on the bot side to say, look, we have got a flank ward available for Fearness should we need to get him into a decent position. But look at BiuBiu already on the minimap saying, look, I'm here. He has a Rabadon's death cap this time around, so already recognized that was 1 Q. And he's already chunking Fearness out so much. This is going to be a big moment now for WE. If you can get the Hex Dragon right now, you will be doing so well for yourself. The Moonlight Vigil comes out and peppers them down very nicely. Eric almost gets taken out, and he's flashed away already. You do have full summoners available for Shanks, so he's going to be doing a lot on the Aphelios if he can stay alive. Fearness goes in, trying to use the needlework to make it work. Dawning Shadow across 2. They're not quite able to make it. They go in! Not quite able to steal it as LGD get themselves back onto the dragon, and they secure that objective. Now, the fight can reset. BiuBiu flashes in onto the backside, catches out everybody, and now WE, with the confidence that their top laner gave them, move forward, picking up kills, getting all these different health bars down. They'll turn back for the Baron.
And that was such a good fight from WE. They kite back, they draw Shadow in that bit too far, and that's when BiuBiu pounces. Now, starting to push in. I thought they'd turn towards the Baron, but they think they can crack the base and still have time for dessert with that objective as well.
Honestly, they might look to try and end. Look at these death timers.
Yeah,
You
maybe
still don't
actually.
have Eric.
It's such
They
a
actually
long
might...
game.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it. We're 35 minutes in. They've got a huge minion wave, and they have an Aphelios. There's going to be so much damage on these turrets. You have to defend here, but I don't think you can. Your Karma just can't do enough. Nexus turret number 1 goes down. The Sonya's has been used by Fearness, but now the Nexus is exposed. They will take the Zhao down, but now the Gwen has fallen as well. Eric goes away, and off of one massive play from BiuBiu, WE put themselves 1-0 up in the series.
And just like that, the game is over. BiuBiu, that was a phenomenal play coming into that dragon fight. And it's something that I love to see from Kennen's, right? Is like holding on to these flashes specifically for dragon fights, specifically for Baron fights, because it makes such a big difference when you're able to get those